So you can get out on your fishing boat and just basically fish on a sheet of glass. We troll it slow generally with like that naked crawler with a piece of
Mm-hmm.
worm. And then there's, big rainbows up there, 24, 25, 22s, 18s. There's just really wonderful fish. They're hard fighting, cold water. It just, I look forward to it.
Sierra Wreck, where dreams unfold, adventure stories to be told. Nature's best from A to Z. Catch it now on your free.
Today on Sierra Wreck Now podcast, we're heading to one of the most scenic and underrated fishing lakes in the Sierra, Lake Almanor. And joining us is a man who knows these waters better than most, Captain Rob Ayers from Almanor Fishing Adventures. He got a great story, actually. I was reading up on today. He lost everything in the campfire back in 2018. Captain Rob made a life-changing decision. He moved to Lake Almanor, opened up one of his dream businesses to fish the shores of Lake Almanor, to guide people into the experience that he loves most. On his custom boat and a little light tackle philosophy, he's made a great business up there. Recommendation came into me to interview him because he absolutely knows a lot about the hatch up there and some of the secrets of the lake. So I'm super excited about getting in today's show and learn how we can catch the big fish. So pull up your chair, grab some sunscreen, grab a Coke, and let's go explore the waters of Lake Almanor together. So, Captain Rob, how are you doing today?
We're doing really good today. It was a good day on the water. We've got some beautiful sunshine up here at Lake Almanor. One of the things that kind of stands out to me about this year is the winds have been light. That's
Oh,
been very, very delightful on the lake. It's been one of the better years that I really can remember as far as that. And high water. We've got good runoff. We had pretty good snow, and it's just been delightful. To be honest with you, the fishing's been good. The weather's great, and you really
great,
can't
mild,
ask for
right?
more. Yeah.
Well, that's really good. I was up there, unfortunately, for the kayak bass fishing tournament. That had the tragedy because actually did have a bad weather day that day. But even as the day went on, that day cleared up and the lake was just absolutely beautiful. And I've been able to go out and go bass fishing on the lake. I still haven't trout fished it on the lake, which blows my mind. I haven't done that yet. But it's such a clear water, beautiful body to be on. What drew you to Lake Almanor after your experience? Obviously, is it campfire was paradise, right?
The campfire, yeah, burned down Paradise, November 8th, 2018, pretty much
Okay.
destroyed the town. But back in the mid 70s, I'm kind of have to guess, I was very, very young. And I tell some of my clients when we talk about the lake that I think Almanor to me is a little bit like Hawaii might be for other people. It was a place that I came and it just made such an impression on me. I never forgot about it.
Yeah.
When I was a youngster, I came up here with my aunt and uncle, grandparents and parents, and stayed over at Plumas Pines. Rented a little 12-foot aluminum boat and went fishing. And one of the things that stood out is I hooked my grandpa with a lure, and my uncle was so angry at me. But a big thing that really caught me about the lake, in all honesty, is just happened to be that when we were out fishing, the Blue Angels flew over.
Oh yeah.
And it's military airspace. I haven't seen them since then, but they flew over and they flew low enough and fast enough that we didn't hear them till they were right on top of us.
Oh,
And
crazy.
as a child, it was just made such an impression on me. I just never forgot about the place. So as soon as I was able to drive, at 16 years old, I had a little Baja bug, and up the
Okay.
hill I'd come. Lake Almanor was just a destination for me.
Gotcha. So you came up and played, didn't necessarily fish all the time, but just kind of came place in the mountains where you found a retreat.
Yeah, absolutely. Camping
Gotcha.
up here and running around in the creeks and going to the Pine Shack Frosty in town in Chester. It's a tradition that a lot of us get addicted to.
I still go to the Frosty. Although I found Carol's place last time I was up there, and Carol's place might be one of my new favorites with the homemade pie and the ice cream shop and the breakfast and whole 9 yards.
Right. And and
Right?
and, man, and hustle up to enjoy that. I think 50 years she's been up here doing that now.
Yeah, I got to meet her walking her dog out that morning, and she met me in the parking lot. Hi, how you doing? You want to come in for some coffee? Go, sure. Who are you? Oh, you're Carol. That was a great experience. So, tell me about summer up there right now. What's the lake look like? Overall, you said the wind's been down. How's the fishing going on? I mean, it's never a busy lake, in my opinion, right? I don't know if it gets super busy, maybe on Saturdays, maybe, but nothing like Lake Tahoe does, right?
Well, I don't really have any experience on Lake Tahoe. I've been to Tahoe. It's been years for me now, and I am aware that it's very crowded. I think just everything always kind of reminds me of the story. It seems like it was 4th of July a couple of seasons ago. I had some clients. We were out fishing, and they asked me, "Does this lake ever get busy?"
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped and I looked around and I felt like there were boats everywhere and people skiing. And I was like, I mean, it doesn't get any worse than this. And they were like, oh my gosh, this is a nice day where we come from. Uh,
Exactly.
so it is a consistent story with Lake Almanor, a hidden gem, a treasure that nobody really knows about. People say we're down in Los Angeles. Nobody's ever even heard of Lake Almanor.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of Tahoe. That's definitely a destination, but we do have a beautiful lake up here, and it's a little bit of a secret. And for better or for worse, we like it that way, but yet it's so wonderful we want to share it too. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of it's a mixed blessing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had another captain on the show last year, a little bit before this last year, and we talked a lot about the record trout up there. I mean, it's known as a fishery. It's known as one of Northern California's best fisheries, right? I mean, what catches your eye about fishing the lake up there? Maybe it's different than other places in California you fished.
Well, this is a great question. There's other lakes that I really have enjoyed, when I fished for fun. I chose
Hmm.
this lake because I moved up here. So
Okay.
I was put in a situation where I was just pretty happy living my life, and then my town burned down,
Yeah.
and you wake up one morning and you're homeless, and you go back home, and your home's not there, and the town's gone. And what do you do?
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, there's a few different things that came together. I knew about this location. I had been fishing the lake already for years, and being successful. I don't know how long I even want to make the story, but to be honest with you, I was traveling up here. I would fish the lake, and I just felt like I had kind of accomplished everything I could accomplish here. Maybe it sounds funny, but it wasn't motivating me anymore. and
Okay.
and just prior to the fire, I started thinking I'm either going to have to find a new lake, or I'm going to have to do something different to turn my screws again, to get me excited about fishing the lake. And then, of course, the fire happened, and I had an opportunity to kind of change directions, and so I chose to move a little higher altitude, a little further north, and slow down a little bit, start this business, and figured I would just kind of make this my retirement gig,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm doing.
Very good. You got any fun stories from fishermen this summer already, or maybe the last couple of years that are fun to tell for families going out for the first time, or guys catching big whoppers?
We haven't caught. We caught a 9.5 brown trout a couple days ago or whatever on Saturday for the veterans fishing event.
Oh,
That
that's
was that
fun.
was that was super exciting. Really great to get the guys out. It's a big thing with the Almanor Fishing Association up here to put on that free veterans fishing day, and
Hmm.
and the barbecue and everything. People get excited about it. So to be successful on that day was enjoyable. Um, and then to pick out any particular stories, they're just ongoing. It's
Yeah,
one of the great
ongoing.
things. It's one of the great things about being on the boat is you get new people every day.
Hmm.
It's and they're here to have fun. They're here to catch fish. It is a great fishery. Not even just to put a feather in my cap, but I mean, we are successful. We do well up here. So it's a consistent fishery, and the people are enjoyable. I had a guy today from Arizona. I had some people up here from Missouri. We had some people from Texas.
Right on.
So even though, maybe us Californians don't really know about it, there are people from even out of our state that know about this place and come to visit and get out on the water.
The fishermen know, right? The fishermen know.
They know, and to be honest with you, I get people. I had a group come out from Texas,
Okay.
and their grandfather had fished with me before and had a good time. But she was a Southwest pilot. She spent some time in the Iraq War. And then she had a daughter that is learning to be a pilot. So just these really neat people that have these wonderful but they never fished before in their lives.
Yeah.
And so they came to visit Grandpa, and Grandpa's like, "Man, you got to get out there with Captain Rob, do a little fishing or whatever." And just what a treat to meet these people and do
Yeah.
that.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. On your site, you talk a lot about being an advocate for light tackle fishing, and I'm not familiar with what that means. I was wondering if you might be able to explain to our guests what light tackle fishing is for those who are listening and don't know either, and why that philosophy means something to you as a fisherman.
Well, I grew up in the creeks, in and around Almanor and around Paradise, and even in town.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the kid with a bicycle. I had a 4.5 foot Fenwick ultralight rod with 4 pound test on a little spinning reel, and that type of fishing is what I did. It's how I grew up, and it was my exposure. And then that kind of became, not to be too philosophical, but it kind of became my church. The time in the
Okay.
outdoors was where I would go to rejuvenate and to like bond with nature. As a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up, appreciating the fish, catching the fish on very, very light gear. And Almanor really plays well into that type of a fishing style.
Okay.
There's guys that, they're going to chase tuna, they're going to chase, whatever large ocean fish, and this is just a different fishery. There's guys who fish with heavy tackle, but it's also a really really wonderful minimalistic kind of presentations. We don't need to fish with flashers or heavy gear. One of the things that's really popular on Lake Almanor is a thing they call the naked crawler, and
Okay.
it's just a little piece of a night crawler on a hook, and you just put it behind the boat and drag it, and it doesn't
That's
get much more minimalistic than that, right?
that is so funny. The professional bass the tour that came there last spring, right? The guy who won that event was a young kid, and we pulled up on him catching catching bass out of the lake, and he was making his homemade lure to look like a worm. Basically, he was cutting this thing with his teeth and tearing strings off the smallest little bait, and he goes, "The bass here love small little things that look like this, and it looked like a half a worm is what it looked like with a little string on it." It was quite funny that you say that. So obviously the bass are like certain flavors. But so yeah, you're doing rainbow brown. There's obviously bass in the lake. Is that the rainbows and browns? Is that pretty much the common catch there?
Yeah, I'm a target cold water fish is what I'm
Okay.
targeting. We also have, Sacramento perch up here that we catch every once in a while. Of course, the smallmouth bass. I even caught a sculpin, which is like a little bottom fish, some years ago. But yes, also up here we have it's actually getting much better. We had lost it for a few years during the drought years. The Department of Fish and Wildlife had stopped planting the Chinook salmon that they put in here or had for
Okay.
years. But that fishery is coming back,
Oh,
and today I think we caught one. I think it was 22 inches today, and we catching them in the 22 inch, 23 inch class.
nice.
Over the last several days. So
Okay.
so our Chinook salmon fishery is coming back. So we have brown trout. It's Almanor is known as a trophy brown trout lake, one of the premier
Mm-hmm.
brown trout fisheries in the state of California. We work hard to promote it and to preserve it, encourage catch and release. And then we have quite a few rainbow trout that get planted into this lake, and we keep a lot of those for the table if that's what customers want to do. And then, of course, those salmon, are a put and take fishery. They put them in as a triploid. They're non-viable. They don't reproduce, but they hang
Okay.
out in here, feed voraciously, and make for a great fight on the rod.
They're a lot of fun. The tug is a drug, right? Is that the fishermen always say?
The tug is the
Yeah.
drug. Yes, for sure.
Very good. Now, I was introduced to you from Catherine up there, and she was talking about you're kind of locally known as a little bit of a hatch whisperer, somebody who understands the insects and bugs and the different attitudes of the lake and seasons. What's going on for hatch right now up there? Are you guys, yeah, is it over or are you guys in the middle? I don't know. I don't know fishing enough to tell you season. So give me kind of a lay of the land of where things are at with hatches and where the water's at right now.
Yeah, these are great questions, and I do keep track of the bugs. One of the things that makes Lake Almanor a tremendous fishery is we basically have a 365-day feeding cycle. In the summer months like this, the spring and summer, we have lots of bugs, lots of midges. Of course, the Hexagenia limbata is like this super super famous, the giant mayfly they call it, and and that those bugs are hatching in the evening right now. As a
Okay.
troller, I don't target them specifically so much as say a fly fisherman would. But the larva is in the water and is in the water long before they hatch and reach sexual maturity and become a fly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of trying to be aware of them in the larval form when they're subsurface, and then the fly guys, they just kind of lose their minds and everybody goes crazy to come up here and try to catch a nice fish on a dry fly. But yeah, that's all going on strong right now. Midge flies, somebody told me, I don't even know how many different variations of midge flies we have. But Almanor, you just have to drive across the causeway in the evening one time during the summer, going between Chester and the peninsula, and just count the amount of bugs that you've killed on your windshield and grill, and
Exactly.
we have a good amount of bugs up here.
That is not a lie. That is not a lie. Yeah, the lake is actually quite large, right? And there are like geographical terms people use for the lake, for West Shore, the peninsula, the dam. All these different things. Is there a certain section of the lake that you prefer fishing in? I'm sure you fish everywhere, but is there like a section, like if I'm going to take a guest out and he needs to catch a trophy, we're heading here?
Well, it's so seasonal. So
Is it?
these fish are on the move, and people ask me that all the time. Like, give me like just the one spot to go. And there are famous places. When we talk about maybe a favorite, but we
Yeah.
only get to fish it for a short period of time. Really, there's a place called the Red Banks up by Bailey Creek. On the west side, this year it hasn't really come together. We haven't got to spend a lot of time up there. It's been a unique year of lack of fish up there, but
Interesting.
it's beautiful. Right now it's completely undeveloped. Has great views of Mount Lassen, and on a nice calm spring day, like we're kind of segueing out of that and into summer, or I guess we are officially in summer, but
Summer. Yep.
yeah, it's a beautiful place, and recreational traffic, like we had mentioned earlier, is really, really light. So you can get out on your fishing boat and just basically fish on a sheet of glass. We troll it slow generally with like that naked crawler with a piece of
Mm-hmm.
worm. And then there's, big rainbows up there, 24, 25, 22s, 18s. There's just really wonderful fish. They're hard fighting, cold water. It just, I look forward to it. It
It's
doesn't
a lot
really
of
get
fun.
bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the last fisherman I spoke up to that talked about the water temperatures changing up there during the year too. So it changes where you're fishing at, and depths, and a lot of flow like that. Water temperature in July, is it starting to reach its, just starting to warm up? Is like August a hot spot in the lake, or is it constantly changing on the shoreline based on sun? I don't understand that a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, these fish are going to be moving around based upon water temperature. I don't worry a lot about what the water temperature is. I'm more following the fish, and you get generalizations. For instance, I'll be over fishing on the west side, and I start catching smallmouth bass, or I start catching, those Sacramento perch, and then that's kind of just an indicator to me that these, the species are changing.
Got you.
And so then you kind of move over to the east basin where we have deeper water, and then instead of fishing at 25 feet down or whatever your choice is, now you're fishing closer to 40 feet down. And then you find fish over there. And then so that. And then and other subtleties, that we do in fishing, yeah, on our televisions, I call it, or on your chart plotter, your fish finder, you can start seeing the development of a thermocline. You start knowing that there's denser water on the bottom, and you can see that, and so you know those changes are taking place, and people oftentimes ask me, what the temperature is down there at a certain depth, and I
Yeah.
honestly don't know. I don't worry about it, but I use the peripheral information to make those determinations, and really that's what we're doing is we're following the fish. I mean, the fish are going to tell you
Yeah.
if you're not catching them, you better go look for them.
I guess it's why it really hire a guide, right? Because there's a difference between going out by yourself and, hey, I've always fished this bank, and you catch a perch, you don't even think twice about it. Where you can catch a perch, you go, hey, I think we need to move down to the dam today, or
I think that's the problem. Yeah, we
right?
probably shouldn't be catching too many perch. We need to
Yeah,
move on. Yes.
exactly, exactly. I think it's a great testament right there. Just kind of leave there where you're at. So, I've always loved the Lake Almanor, Chester community. I love going up to stay for the weekend. I'm a big Lassen fan. I've been on the lake a couple times, and now I actually paddleboarded last year. Talk about the community, about living there now. You've moved from Paradise to Lake Almanor. What's it like to be a resident of someplace you used to visit? What were some of your favorite things about visiting from out of town? Kind of give listeners about lifestyle in Lake Almanor.
One of the interesting things about Chester is it's exactly the same town that I remember when I was, 15.
Yep.
Or 16. So I started driving up here, and then there was Chester, and then I came back when whatever. I just kept coming, but let's say I came back when I was 20, and then I came back when I was 30, and now here I am in my mid 50s, and I'm back, and now I'm living here, and it's just the same town that it was when I left it as a child. So it's one of the beautiful things about it. It's a very small community. We're pretty tight knit. It can be difficult up here in the winter. One of the things that separates us from Tahoe is the pretty much absolute lack of winter recreation. There, we don't have a ski resort. Some of the wonderful people up here do keep the restaurants open, and even the fly shop stays open. So we find places to go hang out. But that's almost one of the things that I try not to do. Is in the wintertime, about the only thing we have to do is you pick a retail store that's open, and you do hope there's a chair there. You
Now,
go.
now I have to stop you right there. Lassen happens to be one of my very favorite places to go snowshoeing in because I'm a big snowshoer. So I come up there almost every winter to go snowshoeing in the national park.
Yes, and they do tours in there, and that's one of the primary things it seems like people like to do up here is they go snowshoeing or cross
Yep.
country skiing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful snow area up there for that type of thing. So, well, let's talk about the fishing association you're part of, and what you guys are doing. Local groups. Just got done with the Veterans Day celebration, which allows veterans to go out and go fishing for free for the day and go out with a bunch of guys and catch fish and have a barbecue, etc. What other things are the fishing association responsible for up there? Are you guys doing anything else this year that you're involved in that you'd like to promote, or?
Well, one of the primary things that the Fishing Association's doing is they have the cages they keep in the Hamilton branch, and in October they get 50,000 rainbow and maybe 10 or 15,000 brown trout. They raise them throughout the winter. It gives all of us up here who want to participate in that an opportunity to feed the fish, care for them through the winter. During the winter, the primary forage out there for the predator fish are other fish because we don't have the bugs that are around right now, and to
Yep.
keep those in the pens and to raise them to maturity to get them to catchable size before they're released is valuable. Of course, the association's got other things going on. They're giving away fishing rods to kids, and just promoting fishing all the way around. It's a great organization. It's been run by some really really good people. Not too long ago, a guy named John Crotty and his partner Deb came up here and really turned the organization around and got it headed in a good direction with a lot of momentum. So the community supports it. And there's some good things happening. I can't think of anything specific that I need to promote for it. They kind of speak for themselves, so to speak. But I pay my dues every year and volunteer for the veterans event. And
Yep. It's always good, right? Uh, so, I mean, tell me something about Lake Almanor or Chester that maybe some people wouldn't know. If they may know if they can fish and it's got a big lake. There's lots of that. What's something that somebody wouldn't know about the area that only a local might know?
Well, that's a great question. And I hate to just promote businesses or whatever, but it's really the winters up here that what people don't know about.
Yeah.
Like the Red Onion, there's some tremendous owners, Philip and Eva. They changed their menu. Their menu gets more interesting in the winter. In the summertime, they have to basically serve their standard fare because things are so busy. But whereas some of the other businesses around here, many of the other businesses are closing. They just kind of abandon us, quote unquote, for the winter. They stay open and they'll have burger nights, or in the past we've had sushi nights. So it's really that small sense of community becomes very heightened in the winter months up here. And
I love that because I go up there in February. It seems like almost every year. I've been there in January many times, and the small town's still there. There's a lot less services opening, but talk about a place to breathe. That's how I've explained it before. It says you get into Plumas County, and get up above Quincy, and if you just stop for a moment, there's room to breathe, right? It reminds me of Alpine County down by us. It's just there's not that many people around. Everything is kind of slowed down, so you're not in. You don't have to check your phone every 5 minutes, right? Life is just a different pace, which is pretty phenomenal up there, I think. So
Yeah, it really is. It's something to look forward to, and it's also something to revere, and make sure you take care of yourself. The winters can be long.
yeah,
One of the interesting things about my job is that I'm very social. I'm meeting a lot of people every single day. We're going out, and I'm meeting a new group of people, and then all of a sudden winter will set in, and then you walk outside, and all you hear is silence,
yep.
and there's nothing here.
You hear an
Uh,
eagle, or you hear an eagle squawking a tree, maybe, or a chipmunk, eating a pine cone.
Yeah, but the,
Those
but the
wonderful
people
sounds.
the people are gone. Yep.
Yep. Well, let's do this. Bring it back to your business real quick here. Let's talk to people in Redding, California, Sacramento, Reno that might be thinking about, hey, I want to come up and book a trip and try this lake out. Give them a little bit about who you are as a captain, your boat. How do they get signed up? What kind of trip can they expect in a half day or full day or however you do that?
Yeah, I do one trip a day. We go out, in the morning, and then we fish, 7 hours. I troll, so I'm kind of tour the lake, and we drag gear around and we catch fish. I mean, it's really
Catch
that
fish.
simple. I have partnerships with Olson House Coffee out of Oroville and Conan Creek Coffee Hughes up here, serve danishes, and try to support the local people in the local community, and try to provide a good time. And we do that by catching fish. And I'd like to think and I believe strongly that we're successful at that. It's an enjoyable, calm. Of course, you have to have the weather kind of in your favor, but I always say that any day on Lake Almanor that you can put the weather in your favor is a good day to come fishing up here.
Yep.
And I'm on the internet that people can find me. Almanor Fishing Adventures. So I'm not.
AllMoreFishingAdventures.com, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
and you find me on Google or Yelp or TripAdvisor. I'm pretty well reviewed. I'm not a great self promoter. I'm
I
not.
got you.
Some people are really really wonderful at sales, and they really think they're the cat's meow, and I'm happy for them. But
There
yeah,
you
we
go.
provide a great business, and we have a comfortable boat. A heater. I'm really the only guy up here that has a bathroom on board. I've got a fully private bathroom. So that provides comfort and opens it up to a lot of other people. I don't talk a lot about it, but to be honest with you, as a guy who's on the water for 7 hours every day, I don't know how the rest of them do it without a bathroom.
Yeah,
But uh,
exactly. I mean,
but I, I
for seven
I
hours,
enjoy mine.
are people bringing their own lunch, or are you stopping for lunch, or what's that? That's the 7 hours a long day, or do fishermen just don't eat because they're too busy fishing?
I tell people I keep a lot of snacks on board. I've got a cooler. I always have, Celsius drinks and Red Bulls and Coca-Cola and Fanta and whatever else and waters and coconut water, licorice and
Yep.
snacks and chips and granola bars. But yeah, I encourage people, that the captain always likes, if you want to bring a breakfast burrito or something, I'm never one to complain.
Very good. Stop at Carol's. I'm telling you, Carol's can set you up before you go out. I think that's one of my
Yeah.
new favorite places. Very good. Well, hey, Captain Rob, you wouldn't believe it's already coming up on 30 minutes of the show. I got to do a quick shout out to our sponsors here, real quick, and then I'd like to come back and ask you 3 personal questions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Let me roll this up here for Carson Valley. You guys know I can't do anything without them. They are my main sponsor here, and let me give them a little shout out here. There are a lot of fishermen in Carson Valley, and I know they're watching the show. So you guys, trust me, Lake Almanor is a great fishing spot. If you haven't been up there, I know we have plenty of good fishing around here, but Lake Almanor is great opportunity. Hey, I also want to take a real quick moment to shout out to Plumas County. They're one of my other sponsors. They're a big sponsor. They're the ones that led me to Captain Rob here. So shout out to Plumas County. They're a wonderful organization to work with, and discovering Plumas County and exploring up there is just something I've truly loved doing since I moved here in 2010. So go and check it out. Check up our website. We got a lot of stuff on Plumas County and Lassen, et cetera, et cetera. So, Rob, I got 3 questions I ask all my guests. Okay, you ready for them?
I'm ready.
All right, first one. Your bag is packed behind you. You're leaving for the weekend to go anywhere in the Sierra that you want to go play for the weekend. Where are you heading and why?
If I'm going to go to the Sierra, well, you know what? The first thing I think of, unfortunately, is the Yola Bullies. I'm headed to the Yola Bullies because there's like nobody over there. I'm going to head out of Corning and Paskenta, and I'm just going to go up into those mountains up there, and I'm not going to bump into anything but bears and deer. And
I
but
don't
over
even
here,
know where you're talking about. Where's
ah,
that at?
man, now see, it's another secret. It's a whole different show.
That's a whole nother show. You and I are getting back.
Yeah.
I have to learn that one. Wait, say that again. What was it called?
The Yola Bullies. It's a mountain
Yola
range
Bullies.
over on the Cascades. And
Oh, okay.
Paskenta's a little town. I mean, I'll go ahead and let it out there. There's a trailhead up there that goes back in Soldiers Meadows. So yeah, you got to check it out.
Okay.
It's great hiking. If I'm over here, to be honest with you, my bag's packed. I've been fishing all summer. I'm going to a good restaurant. I'm going to go down to Taylorsville. I'm going to go visit the store. I'm going to go into the bar and have a Bloody Mary. I'm going to go out and get a burger.
Hey,
Um,
Taylorsville is a great little place, man. And that little lake up there above Taylorsville, that's a cool little place too. What's that little lake that's above Taylorsville? Antelope? Is it Antelope Lake?
Antelope is a bigger one. There's a little
Yeah.
Crystal Lake up there too. Is really
Okay.
beautiful, and
Very
that
nice.
valley is a wonderful valley. So any opportunity I have to get out and kind of support the local businesses, I mean, that's where my bag is packed and I'm going.
I love
But
it.
otherwise, wintertime comes, my bag's packed. I'm going to go to Mexico is where I'm
I,
headed.
I like it. I like it. Okay, that's good. Very good. Well, I am a foodie. I like burgers and cheeseburgers and milkshakes after a big long day hike. You're a long 7 hours on the boat. You're going to go local to eat food. What's the go-to grub in town that you have to have? What's the flavor?
I get that question a lot. And to be honest with you, and it's really a heartfelt, honest answer, I have an appreciation for every restaurant that's here.
Mm,
I encourage people to support every single one of them because we don't want to lose any of them.
yep.
Um, you
There's some really
know,
good food in town.
yeah, Plumas Pines is of course awesome because it's the only restaurant on the lake. During the summertime, you can sit on the porch and look out over the water. But there's great burgers. There's a Mexican place in Mi Casita in town. They have a great Western cheeseburger.
Yep.
The Ranch House has a great their quarter pound Ranch House burgers, fabulous.
Yep, I've had
Um,
it. That one's good. Last time I was at the Pines, I was down there just a while back. They have really, really good onion rings.
they have
So
the best onion rings.
onion rings and a beer. That's all I needed was to sit at the bar. It was a fantastic meal. Sit there and look at the lake on the deck. Can't go wrong there. So, all right. Well, you're a fisherman, so I kind of think I know where this is going to go. But everyone's a gearhead in some way or form. What's the piece of gear you never leave home without?
That's a great question. Probably up here, some warm clothes in the morning. So I have
Layers.
some Gore-Tex bibs. I don't go out on the boat generally often unless it's really warm. I have my Gore-Tex bibs on. They're a key piece of equipment, and my waterproof shoes. Um,
Love it. Love it. Good. You can't go wrong with a good layer that's going to protect you. So that I completely agree with that. So I've been on that lake early, 5 a.m. in the morning. It's usually glass, but that wind does come up. So you got to protect yourself. And, that water's cold, especially
dressed
early
in
in the season.
layers.
Dressed in layers. All right. Well, Rob, we thank you for your time and letting us tell part of your Sierra story. That's one of our goals here, folks, is to tell the Sierra story as authentically as we can. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and like and subscribe. We do these every Tuesday. We have guests like Rob that just have local knowledge, local stories to tell, and we're just telling them the best we can. So we'd love to have you along, share it with your friends, or send us where we should go next. Put down in the comments, who am I missing on this show? Love to talk to them next. Hope you have a great day where you're at. Be blessed. And next time you go fishing, think about Lake Almanor.
Thank you.